Part 9. Action regulation and a few design details. So in this part we're going to look at how we're going to regulate the action of the piano, and then we're going to look at some more improvements to parts you already have. We're also going to look at how we're going to design the piano overall. So first we're going to look at regulating the keyboard. Every piano requires adjusting over time as components move, wear, change shape. I know I've already spent some time building this part of the piano, but this is really important to get right and perfect before building the whole piano. As usual, let's look what's already out there. So the Fender Rhodes piano features paper shims below the keys. They use different size shims, and this allows the piano technician to set the keys level. The front rail also features felt rings. These don't appear to do anything functional to the piano. Under normal use, these should not contact the keys. Are they a dead weight? Well, no. It's stated that these reduce noise. My guess is that they actually help when the keyboard gets dusty. It stops dirt and grime getting on the pins and also into the key, which would give you like a sticky, poor action. My piano design doesn't have these front pins, so we don't need to consider these. The spaces on the balance rail also allow the key dip to be set. When the pivot point is raised, the amount of key dip increases, and when the point is lowered, the key dip decreases. Though if you do want to modify your own piano, do read the manual to make sure you know what you're doing. We also could look at the Wurlitzer piano. This features more complex action and as a result features more adjustment points. There are multiple screws for each key and also paper shims at the balance point. There's also a screw to change how the damper contacts the reed. Now, to be honest, I haven't played too much with this action, so I can't fully comment, and I'm just going to leave that design here. But yeah, for my design, I really don't fancy playing with paper spacers, because I really like the Wurlitzer design, and I think I'm going to take some inspiration from that. So we're going to look at how we can use a screw to help keep the keys level. On the road, which I doubt this piano will ever see or do, you really want to be able to adjust everything without having to carry spare parts. So if you can adjust the piano just with a screwdriver, this should be something that's available pretty much anywhere in the world. Okay, so I've decided to set the keys level, and we're going to do this by having a screw that's in the base of the piano. I've designed a clip that attaches to this screw, and this is basically a little spring that softens the contact when the key is released. I can attach some felt to this to reduce any noise. And yeah, that's going to allow us to adjust the height of that screw, which allows the resting position of the key to be set. And the next thing I want to look at is the hammer holder. Previously I created this hammer holder design. It's a little basic, but spaces out the hammers and holds them all at the same point. I need to improve this a little, as once the piano's built up, I'm not able to access both sides of the hammer holder. The underside will not be able to be reached, so having a nut and bolt is not going to work because I can't access underneath it. So I really want to be able to remove a hammer and damper really easily. And the goal of this is just to make something that's really easy to service. So to overcome this, I've set a nut into the bracket. So I've created a feature and designed the tolerances so that the nut, once it's been tightened up, is going to stick inside the underside of this holder. And that's it. It means that we can just simply undo the bolt, and we can remove everything and rebuild it up, and we don't need to actually strip the whole piano down. It's a really easy way to do it. Okay, and then the next thing I want to look at is spacers. When I built my test rig, the idea of this was that I could play with the heights and the position, how everything fits together, and kind of optimize this. And now I've got all the parts that I've created, I realise that I need to raise the balancing point, the bridge as I call it for the keys. And this creates the right amount of key dip. It's a little heavier on the feel than what I'd like, but we're going to move this forward and use this design. This matches the base shape of the bridge. So let's print this up and get it on the test rig. So here it is put together. Yeah, it seems to work. It seems to do what it should do. So now I'm reasonably happy with the parts and the setup, and I understand how I want to do it. The next step is designing how all these fit together over the length of the piano. I've decided on the notes I'm going to use, and then I've worked out how long each tine and tone bar need to be using finite element analysis of each one. It's been a little bit warm over the last week or two here, so I haven't had much chance to manufacture these tone bars. Once I do manage to do that, I'm going to be able to test different strike lines, and once I've got that completed, I'm going to be able to complete the full design. I've started to create the full CAD model. I'm starting to see how it all's going to look like and come together, so I do feel like it's getting closer, but do bear with me, there is still a bit of work to go, but light at the end of the tunnel. That's it for this installment. Please let me know if you have any ideas or think I've overlooked anything important. It'd be good to know that now before we can carry on with the project. I think the next part's going to be really good, so make sure you subscribe, and yeah, see you then. Thank you. Bye.